Hey, welcome back. So today in our Career Tiny Home series, we are doing the critic's house. Now, the critic can be either an art critic or a food critic. You get to choose later on in your career. So I kind of catered to both in this build. I honestly thought about what it would look like to do two different versions of this house, to do an art critic's house or to do a food critic's house, but I just kind of rolled it all into one. I thought it would be more fun that way, have like a really full functioning house that caters to a critic in general. And I mean, my opinion and thought process of someone who is paid as a critic, they're gonna have really expensive taste, maybe a little on the modern side. So that's kind of where we went with this. Now, the critic career does come with city living. Despite the fact that I wanted to use a smaller lot, I go ahead and use this lot in San Myshuno, which is obviously the city living world. So that way we could really have a downtown home. And more to my thought behind this was that this critic's going to be downtown in the hub of things. They're there to go to all the art museums and to go to all the restaurants, to go to all the restaurants to be able to go and criticize them appropriately. I thought it'd be kind of fun to do almost like this walkout basement. So it's not really, you can go out from the basement into this little patio area. However, you can't like get out from the basement through that little area, which you could always like put a ladder if you wanted to. However, I did not. I just wanted this really nice little, little moment. My mind has gone blank. You know those basements that have the little windows and they kind of are like slightly above ground? That was really my vision for this, but we obviously can't do that in The Sims. Or, I mean, I couldn't. Trust me, I played around with terrain and tried so hard to make it work, but it just doesn't. You can't like clear the terrain exactly around the house like that. It's fine. Everything's fine. I'm fine. I really wanted it though. It didn't happen, and that's okay. I like the way that this turns out in general. The little like basement area where you can walk out. I put like a little art studio down there because as a critic, depending on the route you take with this, if you're gonna be a food critic or if you're gonna be an art critic, you need those specific skills. If you are an art critic, you're gonna want high painting skills. You want like potentially music and comedy skills as well. So we definitely add those things in so you can use those objects and cater to those skills. And then, of course, for your food critic, you're going to want gourmet cooking skills and just cooking skills in general. You also need high writing skills for this career, which of course makes sense. You're a critic, so you're potentially writing for websites, magazines, newspapers, whatever that looks like for that career, right? Originally, when I built this house, I was thinking that the basement would be a studio for you to practice all your skills. It doesn't work out that way. I really wanted to have this really big kitchen. Okay, but we're talking tiny home, so you can't have like a giant kitchen. But I wanted a big kitchen. This person is potentially a food critic and they're gonna have food skills of their own. You would just think that they have a beautiful kitchen area. I also wanted this fireplace. It's the get together fireplace and I think it's so pretty and it looks so modern. I really wanted a like built-in bookshelf moment for the fireplace. So I finally pushed the bed down to the studio space. It is now the bedroom. Tiny as it may be, it is the bedroom. And I have decided to use this whole upstairs space as your living area, your kitchen. And I even put a desk up there because obviously you're going to want to work on those writing skills. So you need a computer. And for a tiny home, I can see how this kind of ends up feeling like maybe it is a little bit of a wasted space using all of this space for those two areas. But it felt important to me. Remember, we talk about this critic being kind of like in this high-end world. I think that they're hosting people all the time. They have a very fancy schmancy lifestyle. And so I really wanted to replicate that in this build. It's very modern, industrial, with like a tiny splash of color, but like neutral colors, like the green couch you see from the Industrial Loft Kit. An Industrial Loft Kit comes in clutch in this build. I use it for the couch, the chair, the little table behind the couch. The bed is Industrial Loft Kit, if I recall correctly. I'm like 99% sure. I have been doing really pack-friendly builds, and so this one, I started off like, oh, I'll just try to keep scaled back, and then I kind of just use whatever my heart desired. And I try not to do that so much, but sometimes you just gotta go crazy. So I've got my built-in. I use the Book Nook kit and encase that beautiful fireplace. I also use the Modern Luxe kit and use that beautiful, beautiful, lovely, wonderful, amazing frame TV. I wish there were more swatches on it is my only like drawback, because I want to use it everywhere. It's so iconic, honestly. Talking about making this place feel kind of like industrial and modern in a twist of those, I go ahead and use brick as my backsplash on this wall, kind of in an L shape. I use it in the kitchen almost to replace tiles, and I use it on that back wall of the kitchen and meeting into the living space where the fireplace is. And I was really happy with that. I like the way it looks. I love me a brick wall. I just think they're so pretty. That exposed brick, amazing. And I use it downstairs in the basement as well. Now, you see those two little columns in the front? They're not really columns. They're like 1x1 little rooms. I created columns using those. So they're not real tiles placed. They're not actually a part of the house. I took the wall and made 3 sides, and then took one wall and moved it up and did that like tiny home little hack where it's not really a room. The game doesn't consider it a room, so it's outside lighting, and I did not include it in part of the house. It really was to have these like column effects when you're looking at the front. Sometimes I struggle big time with windows, but for this house, I think it was relatively easy for me to find windows and just put them in. I use the greenhouse kit windows and then a couple of Snowy Escape windows. The kitchen is also comprised of Spa Day and Snowy Escape. I use the Snowy Escape kitchen and oven, and then I use Spa Day counters and cabinets, which I think look really pretty. They have a very nice modern feel. I use them in the black. We're keeping this build on the darker side. A nice little breakdown of this career, which you can find. I haven't played the Critic career, but I got this info off of Game Rant. It is a current and updated list, and I absolutely love it. I refer back to it all the time. And so they give a breakdown of this career. So level 1, you're practicing writing. So that's where that writing skill starts coming in, right? Level 2 and 3, you're writing a column. Then when you get to level 4, you get to decide, are you going to be an art critic? Or are you going to be a food critic? And so I love that. I think that's so fun. One of my favorite movies growing up was My Best Friend's Wedding, and Julia Roberts plays like a food critic. And I absolutely like that like scene where they're preparing the food literally lives in my head like rent free. I think of them like going around chaotically trying to like make this perfect dish, and then her like loving it, and it's this like tiny little delicate meal, and it's so cute. And that's iconic, like what I think of food critic. Or we could go like Disney with it and go Ratatouille and think of Anton Ego. Literally watched the movie the other day. Anton Ego. Yeah, it's Anton Ego. So if you're looking at the screen, which I assume you are, there's lots of art pieces everywhere. I thought about doing this really like museum-esque yard and having all these like art sculptures everywhere. I didn't really know how to lay it out the way I would have wanted to without using platforms. So I do end up getting rid of all those things. And I do a really nice like backyard patio area where you can entertain, because we talk about this critic probably loves to entertain. And so that's where my brain ended up going with it. And I put this little pond, like moat, if you will, surrounding the house. It just felt really nice and modern. I have some fountains that go in there and I light it up. And I just think it's a really pretty moment and it helps fill up the yard. Because like I had said before, I definitely would have chosen a smaller lot if one had been available to me on City Living, for City Living in fun city living. So this is a 30 by 30, I believe. Yeah, it's a 30 by 30. They do have like a 20 by 30, but it's that like penthouse gym. It just wasn't going to go there. But you know what could be a really fun series after this is said and done, to do these in apartments, because I think that an apartment for a food critic would have been really awesome. But I really want to do the whole tiny home thing. This is the point of it is so that you get these tiny home perks. Now, this is a 64 tile house, as you can see in the blue below the little like bar that has all your tools on it. You know what I'm talking about. So this is a level 2, a tier 2 tiny home. So you're getting a lot of good perks. You're getting that skill gain, and that's what I wanted to do. I played around with the idea of doing a 100 tile house for this because I wanted it to be bigger, take up more of the lot. However, I wanted that skill gain. And when you move into the 100 tile house, that small home tier, you no longer get double skill gain. So we didn't want to do that. We wanted to keep it smaller. So we keep it in tier 2. But the thought process behind these lovely little tiny homes is that you obviously have to build skill to move up in your career. And with these career tiny homes, you're able to go in and gain skill just a little bit quicker than you would with a normal home and potentially move up quicker in your career, which isn't that the goal? So here I'm starting to pull together this little outside area, kind of just configuring what that would look like. I made this little outdoor kitchen grill space. And then what I've done now is moved everything over a little bit. And I took a fence and lined the back wall and up on the sides a little bit. I took those little Art Deco pieces from Perfect Patio and just kind of alt placed them against the fence to add this like very artistic feel to the fence. So it's not just a plain black fence. It's got a little more going to it. So now I'm kind of just moving things around, and I'm really going to start getting into the final touches, the last minute things, a little bit of landscaping. I already have my bulk landscaping like around the house, and then you've got the pond, but those sides just felt so empty that I just played and played and played until I found a solution that I was happy with. Getting back inside, and we're going to do, like I said, final touches, last minute things. We are going to start adding rugs in. I know I have a rug upstairs, but we need a couple more in this house, and we're going to need a couple clutter items. I don't fill up the walls a whole lot. I try to keep them kind of bare. We think of modern, and modern for me goes a little like hand in hand with a little bit of a minimalist. It's big focal points, and that's your focal point. So at first I had these windows down here in the little basement walkout. I decided to go ahead and get rid of the windows and put a door down because I wanted that space to become usable. I didn't want it to just be like something that you would look at. I thought about putting a gardening area down there, but honestly, I turn it into like a little outdoor art studio, which I think is so fun and just adds a little something. So now I've placed a guitar, I've placed a mic because like I said, you want to work on like music skills, potentially comedy skills. So we do put those things in the bedroom. And right here, I'm looking at what it would look like to have a little art like area out here. I didn't like the way it looked. I thought that it took this place from looking modern to like a little more cozy, and I didn't want it. That modern industrial feels a little severe, and so I wanted to keep that feeling severe and that cozy art studio to be just that, a little cozy space outside just for you that you can go and paint and hang out and do your thing. So I do keep the walls bare, but I do add clutter into the bookshelves, and it's mostly like artwork in my opinion, like the little city sculpture and the trolley, the taxi, things that I think like this person lives in the city, so they probably like taxis and they like trolleys, and they've probably ridden in them a million times. And here I go adding a little bit of that clutter for the studio. You can see it down there. I put the paint cans. I was looking for the paint cart. I always forget what it's called, and I've still forgotten. It's like artiste, taboratory. I don't know. It's something weird, and I always have to like just find it, and there it goes. And my little art studio is complete and looks so cute, and I love it, and I'm happy with it. I used the Batu vases because I think they're so pretty, and who would think that that was like from Batu, that black and gold vase and the little like tan one? Love it. And it just adds to the fact that it feels kind of artsy. For curtains, I use the Modern Luxe curtains because I love them. They're so pretty. I kind of just put it on one side that you would think that maybe you would just like drag it over to close the entire curtain. If I had put it on both sides and left it open, it would have been clipping into the bookshelf, and we didn't want that, so it stays open. And then I put those little magazine pictures that look like you've framed a magazine, because this person's a critic. If they're putting their critiques in a magazine and publishing for a magazine, they would probably want to take some of those like more iconic pieces they did, frame them, put them up on their wall. Seems right to me. I put some mirrors as a backsplash in the kitchen. I thought it looked really pretty, and I was really happy with the way it turned out. So I'm getting in here, getting lights in the fountain area so that way it's nice and bright at night, deep in the heart of Texas. Anyways, and then for the final like touches for landscaping, I just put a couple of trees, some rocks, and then I used like the azaleas and the, oh my gosh, the purple flowers, whatever they're called. They're in the surrounding area, so I go ahead and use them. And I use the agave, which isn't exactly what they have across the street, but I think it's close enough that it matches and it looks good to add a little more texture to the empty areas in this area. Then we are just doing terrain paint and we're all done. So let's go ahead and jump into these screenshots. If you like this build and want it for yourself, it's on the gallery. My EA ID is katxthrash, just like the name here on YouTube. If you like this video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Keep coming back for more. I've got a long list to go. I'm only in the C's. We are going A through Z and creating tiny homes for every career. I hope you have a great night wherever you are. Also, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's made it this far, who's watched and just been here with me on my journey. I'm having so much fun. I love creating in The Sims, and I hope you're loving it too. I hope you have a great night wherever you are. Bye, y'all.